Okay, I think we're recording.
Hi, everybody. I'm Isidro,
And I'm Kristen.
and we were having a really good conversation the other day, and we thought it was unfair for us to just have that conversation just between the two of us. We were talking about so many cool things that we thought would be valuable information to share with other sellers and people in the sales industry, sales enablement. So we decided we should press record.
And that is literally what we just did. We just pressed record. So, hopefully this will be valuable to you
We
guys.
did pretty ourselves up for you guys too, though. But we wanted to have a series of convers. She got lip gloss on. I put some stuff in my hair, got my button up on, and we do have a series of topics that we'd like to dive into. And we think that we could share some stuff that might be really valuable for you guys. So today, we wanted to talk about an important topic. Kristen, what are we going to talk about today?
You know, I get asked the question all the time, Kristen, how do you think sales is changing? Which is interesting because obviously people are feeling, the unease or the unknowns or the fears, that come along when something is changing. And so that's what Isidro and I were chatting about when we decided to hit record. So we're going to focus on that topic. How is sales changing, and what does that mean for all of us as sellers? What does it mean for us as leaders, as managers? What does it mean for us that are in, the technical selling space, like sales engineers, right?
Yeah.
There's so much change and there's so much to talk about. So we thought that would be our first topic. So
Right.
what would you say is what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about how sales is changing?
Well, I mean, I think the cool thing is that you and I are uniquely positioned to answer some of these questions because most salespeople only get to see things through the eyes of their industry.
Yes.
But we get to work at a place where our job is to talk to other salespeople and to empower sellers and to help improve performance at organizations. So we get to see tons of organizations of all sizes, all industries, all shapes. And so the cool thing is we have a unique perspective. So we get to see how it's changing across different industries and different landscapes across the years. So if I had to say, I think the thing that I've really been obsessed with is the mental aspect of sales, like the sales mindset of a seller and how important. I really think the mind is the last frontier. You think about books like, we have Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and that book's been around forever. But when you think about think and grow rich, how can I think and grow rich? And it's your mindset. It's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That old Henry Ford, right? And it's you're limiting beliefs of I could never do this, or, oh, I'm just not that type of person, or I can't, those words that you use about yourself.
Assuming things, you're assuming, no, this is a terrible economy. I'm assuming that they don't want this, or I'm assuming they don't want to talk to me, or I'm assuming they know more than I do about this topic, or I'm assuming that since they're a chief revenue officer and I'm just a salesperson, they're not going to want to talk to me. There are a lot of unsupportive selling beliefs that can hijack a salesperson for sure.
That's a really good point, because today we've had a series of conversations. Today we actually had a really important conversation with a customer, and we were going to share some data, some best practices of how to do things. Yeah. And I was really feeling a little bit anxious about that because I thought maybe they were going to think it was too basic. But when we actually unpacked what we were sharing and the best practices, the sales leader was like, if you could just get my sellers to do the basics, it would be magic. And it was in my head, I was thinking, this is going to be too basic for them. It's not going to be sophisticated enough. They're this big enterprise company. Surely they have everything figured out. But guess what? Under the hood, they're all the same. Nobody does.
Right. And, and I think that's one of the ways that sales is changing is because we actually now know what we never knew, And so, we have all this data analytics. For example, we now know unequivocally that the research says that a sales manager who coaches 50% of the time is 230% more likely to have strong salespeople working for them. 230%.
230%. Yet most managers aren't coaching.
And it's not 48%. It's not 49%. It is a tipping point.
It's huge.
At 50%. And so when you have managers that are coaching just 30% or 20%, or, think they're coaching, but really all they're doing is telling, then, you are at an automatic disadvantage.
Yeah, and maybe we should take a step back and define coaching, because most managers think a coaching conversation is, where's this deal in Salesforce? When is it going to close? Update it. That's a coaching conversation. Yeah, guess what? It's not a coaching conversation. It never was. And the truth is that sales managers were promoted because they were really good salespeople, so they're comfortable selling. So what they do is they have all of their sales team go out there and be glorified sales admins, qualifying opportunities, and they're just going around playing whack-a-mole, closing deals all day. Yeah. You're not a sales coach.
Yeah, whack-a-mole. That's a good analogy.
It's what they do.
So I was actually with one of our clients in Singapore. I was on an overnight coaching session with a group of sales leaders and managers, and there were 10 of them on the phone. Every one of them had at least 10 years in sales and had been at the company as a manager for years, right? And so I put them in the fishbowl, kind of like we are, in the fishbowl right now. And I had them do a role play of this coaching scenario, and they were actually coaching. The role play was around coaching somebody to strengthen their competency in consultative selling skills, right? So the manager started off and said, I'd like to talk to you about your approach to consultative selling. And then he just started going off, like, here, this is what your assessment says. This is where you need help. Da, da, da. And I was like, stop, time out. He doesn't care what you think. You say, hey, tell me what you think about this. What do you agree with? What do you not agree with? Talk to me. And then where that person is missing. Then you know what their point of view is. So, and the manager was like, oh, so I don't tell them? I was like, no, a good coach asks. You are always ask. You need to be in ask mode all the time, and let them take you in the direction that you need to go with the conversation. But I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and in the same way, a good salesperson asks a lot of questions too. So I think one of the other areas, so in addition to mindset, I think one of the other areas is competition. I mean, this coronavirus thing has opened up the field. So now I'm not just competing with Joe down the street or Paul down the street or in my same county or even in my same state. I'm now competing with somebody on the whole other side of the world than me that, and so I got to step my game up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's been huge in insurance sales, especially. I was actually talking to a really good friend of mine who's been a super successful insurance broker for many years. And he's like, the biggest problem I see is that instead of saying, hey, I'm 2 miles down the road from you in Houston, they've got now agents from all over reaching out to them, right? And so they have to really be able to step up their game. And the buyers, and this is probably one of the most obvious changes, right, is that the buyers are just so much more educated thanks to, Dr. Google.
Buyers are so much more sophisticated, and they're doing research on sellers. They're looking at your LinkedIn profile. They're scoring you. Yep. They know what they want. They're what was it? 57% away down the buying process before they even reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. And here's the other thing is that, especially for the technological companies, they want to get a solutions engineer or a solution architect involved so much earlier in the process because they feel like they've already done a lot of that discovery work. They already know a lot of what's going on, and they want to go straight to talking specs and engineering, right? So you really have to be able to find your value as an account manager or an account executive or whatever your sales role is. You have to be able to protect that. And, I think a lot of this, of what's changing, like I said, is just now knowing what we never knew, right? And so one of the challenges we know is that, 15% of the world, literally, we have assessed 2 million salespeople, and 15% of them, 15% of them have a average to weak consultative selling competency, right? And consultative selling is super misunderstood. I'm not talking about, the consultative sales training class that you took, or, I'm talking about being able to dive deep with the customer, solution to their outcomes, find out, what's their compelling events or their compelling needs are. And it doesn't mean I'm going to hear an issue and then be like, oh, I can fix that.
Yeah.
Feature dump, feature dump, feature dump. Like, it's not that. And
It
so
isn't.
you have to be able to dive deep, right? You can't be afraid to ask the questions. You have to be consultative in your approach. You have to be able to build trust. You have to create an environment where they want to talk to you, right?
Yep.
And ironically, it's when you're doing less talking.
Exactly. And I hear a lot of salespeople saying, well, I think we need to be doing challenger sales. We need to come in and challenge. Well, I don't think that providing insights and doing the right amount of research necessarily is necessarily challenger sales. It's just being a good salesperson. You should do some research. You should have an educated guess on what they might need before you get there. You should be prepared and have what we call a value hypothesis.
Yes.
Where's the place where this customer has needs based on my research where I might best be able to help them and support them in? Coming in with insights is not unique to one sales strategy or approach. It's basics of sales. You should come in because you're not pushing a product anymore of like, hey, have you seen my suitcase? I have a bunch of silverware and dishes that you need to buy. And it's not that anymore. Now we're selling solutions. And in order to sell solutions, you need to understand what outcomes your customer might be looking for, or at least have an idea.
Right. You can't go in positional or thinking about, what it is that you want to talk about. Because very often, it's interesting in our space in peak performance development, someone will submit, an inquiry and say they want to talk about negotiations training. And I'm thinking, oh, let's talk about negotiations training. And I hear them talking and I'm like, you don't need negotiations training. You need sales training. I get that with people say, I'd like my team to be better presenters. Well, it turns out, they need negotiations training. Like if you go in with this focused mindset of this is how it's going to be, this is what we're going to talk about. Here's my product. This is how I sell it. I've got all this product training behind me, then you're going to be missing the boat, right? Because you have to uncover that compelling reason to buy something.
Absolutely, 100%. And I mean, I think for me, at least, the other area that we haven't really talked about is just technology. So for salespeople, I'm only one person. I'm not an octopus. I don't have 9 arms, so I can't be everywhere at one time. So I got to figure out how to make the most of my day. And first, it starts with knowing what am I best at and where am I best served serving my customers. And so it means automating.
I do envy you. I see you every day. I mean, I'm like, oh, I wish I was more like Isidro. Tell me more.
Well, it's just, I got to figure out how I can automate the things that I'm not good at and how I can leverage, because I do want control. But if I have control, that means that I'm doing everything and I'm not allowing other people. So one of the things like I've really worked hard at over the last few years is creating a team of people that I can trust, and then automating parts of the process where I can automate. There's so much technology out there, whether it's technology to automate, emails that you send out, and you're really good at mail merge. That's one of the things I wish I was better at. But it's things like that where you just automate things that feel personalized to your customers, but it allows you to do the things that you're best at better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that you can spend your time doing what you're best at.
Yeah, automation is really important. And automation also helps in making sure that you're always keeping your pipeline full, consistently, even when you're consistently prospecting, even when your pipeline is full.
Definitely. And, the thing I'll say to all of the sellers that might see this, that were in-person sellers, but now they're selling virtually, and you're like, well, I wasn't hired to sell on a camera, is guess what? It is what it is. You have to get past. You have to, because I know you're going through the change curve and there's frustration, there's anger and denial and all of those steps of the change curve. But in reality, It's like, I heard Simon Sinek talking about this the other day, and he said, there's this little restaurant in New York. They're a fine dining restaurant, Italian food, and the COVID-19 happened, but they didn't fire all their waiters. Instead, they repurposed them, and now they're packaging up food in these beautiful packages, and they're allowing their customers to come, still have a fine dining experience. But for any waiter that says, hey, I was hired to be a waiter, I'm only a waiter, guess what?
Yeah.
We don't have a job for you because that's not a job that's needed right now. Well, but we could still offer you a job if you're willing to change your mindset a little bit and adapt. And so it's about adaptability in sales.
It is. And God, I think you really hit the nail on the head. And on next Friday, May 29th, depending on when you're listening to this, we're having a webinar called how to sell when no one is buying. And one of the key things is just what you said. It's because all the changes have happened in sales, because of COVID, because of the recession, but even this was happening before. Like, this was all happening before the coronavirus hit, right? People were not, adapting to why their product was important to somebody, right? And so, my attention was brought to Mark Cuban, and when he bought the Dallas Mavericks, they were the bottom, like the last team in the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. And he said he got his laptop, he went and sat in the middle of the Cube Farm and started calling old season tickets holders like, hey, hi, this is Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Would you please consider coming to a game? And then people are like, nah, oh, cool, nice to meet you, Mark, but no, I mean, y'all aren't really good this year. Maybe when y'all get better, good luck. And just call after call, it was denial after denial. And Mark was like, dude, do you remember the first time, or do you remember when you were a kid and your dad took you to a baseball game or a basketball game? Like you can't replace that. Nobody remembers the score. They remember the experience and the energy, and we play great music, and you're gonna have a great time. And so it worked because he was selling to their why, to why that experience was important to them, right? And that's how you cut through all of the change. Right? That's the common denominator. So no matter what it is that you're selling, right? No matter what it is, you've got to think about the compelling event or the compelling reason that it's going to be important to them, right? Personally, not just for the company, but personally.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you're in a B2B sales, it's still personal. Don't you agree?
I totally agree. And actually, one of the quotes that I have on my LinkedIn profile is Tiffany Bova says that the last differentiator is customer experience. And if you think about the best way to differentiate yourself is think about how can I provide an experience that nobody else either is willing to provide or can provide? What can I do to provide my customers an experience that's such a great experience that they don't want to go anywhere else? And they can have any salesperson. Yeah. Like, I just love working with you because it's an amazing experience. Yeah. And that's why I'm a stickler. Like, when it comes to my accounts, I do like to have some control, but I like to think about what is a customer's experience through every interaction with us, not from the time that we close a sale to the time that we launch the project, but everywhere in between. Every single interaction is an opportunity for us to continue to get them excited, to create an experience. There shouldn't be dips in that experience where it's like, the beginning was cool when we got excited about what you sold us, and then the outcome was good, but in between it was kind of mucky. Yeah. That's where we need to clean it up.
Yeah, totally. And it is a difference maker. I love Tiffany Bova. I love listening to her speak. She's so good.
Me too. She's really good.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to chat about this afternoon?
No, I think we covered that topic. We beat it to death.
I think we have. We whack-a-moled it.
We whack-a-moled it.
All right, Joe. I will catch you probably in an hour or so.
Probably on the next call. Nice chatting with you.
Bye.
Bye.